This is ScreenView with Peter Van, Amy Morgan, and John Denny. Fan us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at ScreenView Show, and join in on the conversation on Google+.
And hello, and welcome to ScreenView episode 35, September 27th, 2012. We are back, and with me, of course, are the regulars, John Denny and Amy Morgan.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Hello.
It seems like it's been forever since we've podcasted.
It has been
a while.
It's been a couple weeks. It's been a while. So, but it's just in time for us to talk about the box office report, which, of course, the end of watch ends the Resident Evil box office reign. Like that? I made that up. Just that.
Well, here, I was looking up numbers on Monday. These numbers are different than the ones that I saw.
Yeah, so the ones that you saw on Monday were the preliminary reports from Sunday, and then Monday afternoon or so, they report the actuals. So House at the end of this, so end of watch was, they were originally 13 million each, and then end of watch and House at the End of the Street were both 13 million on Sunday, right? Is this what's going on? And then now they read end of watch at 13.115 million, and then House at the End of the Street at 12.28.
Okay.
Is that what you saw? You saw like they were essentially like in dead heat, right?
Yeah. I saw, yeah. I mean, it seemed like House at the End of the Street had 800 million more, or 800 million. 800,000 more, and Trouble with the Curve had like 600,000 more. Yeah,
those are projections. So the other ones projected much higher than they really were. So
I mean, no matter what they said, I mean, their projections, what they were, and the actual numbers, it was not a good weekend for movies at the box office.
No, it was a pretty abysmal weekend. I mean, the winner was $13.1 million.
And
yeah, and there were so many, because End of Watch had, Jake Gyllenhaal. House at the End of the Street had Jennifer Lawrence, which this movie was actually filmed before the Hunger Games, and they were like, when are we going to put this out? And they said, oh, Hunger Games, now we can put it out.
Yeah.
And then Trouble with the Curve, of course, had Clint Eastwood and Amy Adams.
Oscar bait. Yeah,
essentially. And then Finding Nemo in 3D, which has, in 2 weekends, has made $30 million.
That's pretty bad.
It's actually, I mean, Finding Nemo is, I think, didn't they re-release it recently or something?
Yeah. With 3D, but I don't know anything about anything else.
They didn't do any...
Yeah, that's all they put out was just in 3D.
Yeah, but they didn't do any promotion for it whatsoever.
I saw some commercials for it, not a whole lot.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, same with me. I knew it was going to come out because I saw them saying it's going to be released in 3D, so...
Oh, I don't remember that.
Well, the thing is, like, if you think about all the other movies that they re-released in 3D, not counting the Star Wars movies, but, like, the animated ones, like The Lion King and things like that were, like, hugely popular, they came out more than 10 years ago, more than 15 years ago. So, I can understand, I mean, Finding Nemo came out in 2003, which is, I mean, I understand that, like, new generation of kids, but...
Not that new.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's only 8 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not that
it's 9. It's 9
It's
years,
not that far
actually.
removed where it's like, oh, I haven't seen it. And I don't even know if it's in the vault, the Disney vault. So, I mean, it seems like it's easily available on DVD.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't... Yeah, I don't think any of the Pixar films do the vault thing. I don't think they pull that crap.
I don't know, but that whole vault thing, don't get me started on that. Because it just doesn't make any sense.
Of course it makes sense.
Oh, it's in the vault, we're not going to sell it anymore.
Well,
okay.
But then they bring it out every 5 years, and then everyone goes, oh my god, it's on DVD again, and then they go buy it.
Well, it's like, oh, we have a new edition of it, we're bringing it out of the vault. And you're like, well, okay, but you could have been selling these movies the whole time, and then come out with a new edition for it.
But Disney's been doing that since the VHS day, or like for a long, long time, and it's worked well for them. They've made a lot of money off of it. So,
But some of these movies they put in the vault and have never come out of the vault.
because they're terrible.
Like Song of the South, which is a really racist movie, but I really want to see it.
That's why it's never coming out of the vault ever again.
No, but it's still a movie they made. You figure, I mean, it's not racist, mean racist. It's like ignorant racist.
I think it's even worse, isn't it?
Well, it was made in a time where like no one knew better than to say certain things, and for characters to look certain ways.
That's even worse. They're definitely not going to release it.
I don't think it's worse.
They're definitely not going to release it.
I don't think it's worse though. Worse is knowing better and still.
I just think, I mean, the Parent-Teacher Association or Parent-Teacher Conference or whatever.
The PTA.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna, picket this movie and stuff if that ever came out. So, you gotta think of the children. You have to think of the children.
Still.
Number 5 is Resident Evil Retribution. Number 6 is Dread, which is terrible, right? It's their first week and it only made $6.27 million.
Oh, that's really sad because I've heard a couple people say that Dread was really good. So I'm going, but it only hit number 6 on the scale.
Yeah, apparently it was a really good show. So
yeah,
I'll still see it. I still want to see it.
Yeah, I heard it was a good show.
I want to see it in theaters, but I still want to see it.
Yeah.
Did you need to go, Amy?
Oh, is she done?
No, she's got to turn on the light.
Oh, okay.
Kids are outside playing.
Yeah,
Oh.
sorry, they're outside playing and it's getting dark, so I had to go turn the light on. Sorry.
They don't even think about it. They're like, "Hey, the light comes on its own."
Yeah, it's they're probably not even. Yeah, they're outside playing, and I'm like going, well, there really does need to be light on, so
Yeah.
sorry. That way that they don't bother us and we can talk.
Right. Number 7 is The Master, which
I really want to see this movie. I've heard really good things
That's
about
definitely Oscar bait for sure.
Yeah.
788 theaters. That means it made it made $4.39 million. So that means it made $5,000 per theater, which actually isn't a lot, but for it was a pretty slow weekend. So
for a small movie, I mean,
Yeah.
it's got some pretty good stars in it. The director is a pretty renowned director.
yeah.
At
It's
least in the recent years.
Plus, it's the Weinstein Company, so they're just gonna pimp the crap out of this thing eventually.
Yeah. And it's
They
also a
already
touchy
are.
subject because it's basically a movie about Scientology
Yeah. Essentially what it is.
and
yeah.
how it's BS.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. The Possession, the Jewish Possession movie, 2.64. Paranorman, number 9, and then number 10, Lawless. The very, the very artsy picture with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, my parents saw it.
Did they like it?
Eh,
Like,
I don't know.
like-
I don't think my dad really pays attention when they go to the movies.
just sleeps.
He never picks the movie. He never gets to pick the movie.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. So they just. I mean, it's a date night for them. Every Saturday they go to the movies. But my mom seemed to enjoy it.
That's good. At least your mom enjoyed it. Coming out this weekend is Hotel Transylvania, Looper, which looks really, really good.
Yeah, it does look really good. I want to see that.
92% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it did really well at the Toronto Film Festival when it came out a couple weeks back. Actually, not a couple weeks back. It was like last month. It's been a while. And this movie Won't Back Down is also coming out.
So the description here is all last names, but it's Maggie Gyllenhaal. Who's Davis? Gina Davis?
Viola Davis,
Oh, Viola Davis.
lady from The Help.
Transform the Child. Hunter? I don't know who that is.
Oh.
Ving Rhames, I assume, is the Rhames.
Hunter is Holly Hunter.
Oh, Holly
Ving
Hunter.
Rhames.
Okay.
And Lance Reddick is also in this.
Oh, all right.
He's probably gonna play, the guy.
It looks interesting.
It looks, yeah, it's one of those movies. There's one of those feel good movies. I think might get some. Actually, it's only at 33% right now, so probably not.
I wouldn't say it's a feel good movie. It's probably like a.
One of those movies that have some injustice that happens, and you get like, yes, they destroyed them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's two determined mothers.
Don't
a
mess with the
bartender-
mothers.
Exactly.
The mothers.
It's a two determined
Was that,
mothers, a bartender and a teacher look to transform their children's failing inner city school, facing a powerful and entrenched bureaucracy and corruption from a two-tiers union president and the school's principal. Oh wow, Ving Rhames is the principal. That's kind of weird. They risk everything to make a difference in the education and the future of their children. So it's like,
Yeah.
What was that movie with Michelle Pfeiffer where she was an inner city school teacher, and Coolio did the song, and Al Yankovic made fun of it?
Huh.
I can't remember what it was, but it seems like a similar subject. But Michelle Pfeiffer was taking on like the gangs of the school, where
Yeah,
it
I
seemed
can't remember what
Maggie
that one you're
Gyllenhaal was
talking about. I
taking
know
on
it when you're talking about though. Yeah.
teachers of the school.
Dangerous Minds.
Yes.
No, is it Dangerous Minds? Yeah, I guess
That's
so.
the one with Michelle Pfeiffer, unless you're talking about the one that was with what's her bucket? The younger chick played in Million Dollar Baby. I can't remember. Hilary Swank. There you go.
Hilary Swank. No, not that one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah,
Be
it's
Dangerous
called.
Mind. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Dangerous Minds. Interesting, and it made a television show, and it never made
That's not surprising.
Annie Potts. Oh, she was in Ghostbusters. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, so the Emmys was this past weekend. In case you didn't remember, in case you guys forgot, the biggest news, I guess, that we should talk about is that. Sorry. Holy crap.
Was that Thunder?
Yeah, that was
Yep.
scared the crap out of me. That was unexpected.
Thunder?
I didn't expect the thunder to be that loud. It's really hot. It's like right above me.
Oh
right
wow.
now. Yeah.
I heard it over your audio thing. I was like, what is?
so,
Sound like somebody dropped something.
Yeah, so don't, make fun of me for being scared of it.
I didn't say. I said, did you apologize for it?
Yeah, because I flinched. I didn't know if you saw I flinched.
I didn't see a flinch.
Yeah,
Oh.
I did see a little.
The sound, and then you
Jerk,
said, "Oh, I'm
but-
sorry about that."
Yeah.
I thought it was your dog.
my dog. I don't have a dog. I was just dog sitting.
Oh, you were just dog sitting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't have a dog.
See, now I assume that you have a dog because you had one that one time.
I have to get a dog eventually. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. Carly's gonna want a dog.
Some- I know for 16.
Oh yeah. So Mad Men went 0 for 16 in the
The
Emmys.
thing I saw about that was a friend of mine posted on his Facebook page. John Hamm will get an Emmy when he learns how to act.
Wow.
Clearly.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It is kind of crazy because John Hamm has never won a Best Actor award for any of it, like for anything that he did in Mad Men, which is kind of surprising. But at the same time, during the Emmys, like for this Best Actor category, it's so stacked in terms of really good
Yeah,
actors.
It's always stacked for the male drama actor.
Yeah.
So it's always either Steve Buscemi for Boardwalk Empire or what's his name for Breaking Bad.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston won for
Cranston,
2 or 3 times.
or
Yeah.
along those lines. So I think the biggest problem for him is that he's not so much when you look at like judging him as an actor. Clearly, he's doing a really good job, but he's doing too good of a job, maybe, where he's become Don Draper. And when you see him in other things, you're like, at least I am. I'm like, oh, it's Don Draper. Don Draper at the end of 18. Don Draper is dating Kristen Wiig in Bridesmaids.
Oops.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like I can't. It's like he's too good at being that character that it's too difficult to separate it out when he's not.
Yeah.
So maybe that goes against him in some way.
Yeah, especially because Bryan Cranston for years before that played the dad in Malcolm in the Middle, right?
Yeah.
And he turned into this crazy guy who just cooked meth for a living. So
Oh no.
that's definitely a huge leap
Five
for him.
Stars drove him crazy.
Yeah, you're right because yeah. because I mean when John Hamm did, Mad Men, he was unknown essentially.
Yeah.
Nobody really knew who he was. And that was his breakout role. So, but just to be nominated, I guess that many times is always something good to say.
Yeah, it's not like they're ignoring him. It's just sometimes there's someone better.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they picked wrong
No.
this year when they went with Damian Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Damian Lewis was picked for excuse me, best actor for Homeland, and Claire Danes was picked for best actress for Homeland. So Homeland essentially swept everything. Like it got was not it.
I just realized something. Homeland and Dexter and Boardwalk Empire are all on Sunday, and Sunday night the Eagles are playing.
Now what will you do?
I have no idea.
Actually, they were saying that essentially all of the dramas that were nominated this year for Emmys were on Sundays.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you watch the Emmys, you will miss some of the shows because they're on Sundays. So that's interesting. It's kind of different for sure. So Modern Family, of course, won the best comedy, and then also swept the supporting actor and actress with Julie Bowen and Eric Stonestreet. They actually all of them only get themselves considered for the supporting roles. They don't consider any of them leading roles.
Yeah, it's an ensemble. Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome that they all do that together. So, and I guess even Ed O'Neill is considered part of the supporting as well, even though he is obviously like the big name. Well,
I don't think that they have a choice of that.
No, I think they can say that they don't want to be or something. There's some way of them to say that they don't want to be supporting, or they could be nominated for leading.
The way that I think about it is, if like it would be pretty, for lack of a better word, ballsy of you to say, I don't want to be nominated for lead actor or actress. I'd rather be nominated for supporting, assuming that you're just going to get nominated for that anyway.
Yeah, I remember reading something about them saying that.
I mean, I don't know how they decide how to give someone, how to nominate someone for lead versus... obviously the lead character is the lead character. I mean, when you think about a movie, you know who the lead character is. But when you pick a supporting actor, it's like how much of the movie has to be supporting. Because I think 1 year Tilda Swinton won a supporting actress award, and she was in, I think the movie was Michael Clayton, and she was only in the movie for like 8 minutes.
Wow. It must have been some pretty epic 8 minutes.
I mean, it's very weird to me how they decide, okay, that's a supporting actress. I mean, obviously they're not going to get, like, if that blew someone away, they're not going to stand there and say, well, she should get nominated for lead actress.
Right.
So what are we going to give her? Supporting actress. But, like, I don't know. You'd think there would have to be some kind of rules for that.
Yeah, so I guess for the Emmys, you essentially submit yourselves to say, hey, I want to be considered to be, I want to be considered for this to be nominated or something. So there was an article that, essentially that's what they did for Friends as well. So it was an article in, I'll show this article. It is, so essentially it talks about how all of the actors of Modern Family are going to submit themselves for supporting actor and actress categories rather than vying for the lead position. Even veteran Ed O'Neill will submit in the supporting category because he felt that nobody is bigger than anybody else in the show that is evolving into a true ensemble hit, according to Deadline Hollywood. Along with O'Neill, the 5 other adult stars who split the screen time, Ty Burrell, Julie Bowen, Eric Stonestreet, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, and Sofia Vergara, are hoping to get nominated in supporting roles by the Academy. So I guess in the Emmys you say, I would like to be considered for this or something.
But then what's to stop like Eric Stonestreet from saying they're all going to submit themselves for supporting? I'll submit myself for lead.
So he's just going to be a huge diva.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like, what's to stop him from doing that?
Nothing. But it's just essentially they're being, they're just being, they have a resolve with each other and say, we are all supportive of each other. None of us are actually leading. We all support each other.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but
makes sense.
They have to know that they're not all going to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they know that. Yeah, they absolutely. I don't think any of them think that they're all going to win. They're just doing it to show support for each other.
I think if you had to submit yourself for consideration, it's kind of like patting yourself on the back.
I think that's the way Emmys work, though. I guess because essentially, if you watch the Emmys, I don't know if you did, John, but.
No, I don't.
I saw it for 5 minutes, and I was like, wow, this is a huge, just a circle gathering.
No, I get that, but, like, if you're going to take it seriously, why not make it like the Oscars where something has to be nominated by somebody else?
I think they submit themselves, and then they get nominated, is how it works. Like, I would be, to considered for this. It's like the presidential candidacy. It's like, I want to be considered for this. And then they say, oh, yeah, okay.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So one of the cool things is that in its final year for Breaking Bad, it only picked up the Best Supporting Actor in the final year, and then Maggie Smith was Best Supporting Actress in Downton Abbey. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, John Cryer and Julia Louis-Dreyfus got Best Actor and Actress in a Comedy, and Daily Show won for the 10th straight year for Variety Show, and of course the Sarah Palin film, of course, won for the Best Miniseries or Movie.
I heard it was pretty good, but I don't want to sit through it.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty good, but I mean, I don't think it's that important.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is fall television, and our last discussion we picked some shows that we were interested in watching. Yep. And first of all, let's start with Amy. Amy, what show? We're just going to pick one show, but if you want to, you can do the second one really quickly. But do the first one that you were planning on.
The first one that I was planning on. Okay, well, I saw a couple of them, but this is the one I picked because I thought, wow, after I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh! So I picked Last Resort, which basically is there's this U.S. naval submarine that it's a show about this. At the very beginning, they pretty much set it all up, and they're ordered to fire, basically, start the next war on Pakistan, but they are sent these orders in a different way than there's couple secondary ways that they have just in case, there's an actual war that happens and Washington is hit. There is a secondary route that they are able to get these orders from if they are to retaliate because we've been hit by nuclear weapons. Well, they get the call through this secondary thing, which seems really odd because, they're about to, retaliate with nuclear weapons on Pakistan. And so they kind of feel like we just really want to make sure that Washington's been hit. They find out that it hasn't been hit. And so because of that, they're just kind of like, okay, we're starting this nuclear war. If we're really going to push this button, let's make sure that this is actually coming from the right way. And so they contact, who they're not supposed to, they contacted their own people to find out. And that kind of pretty much sends off a crap storm of the rest of the show because they didn't follow orders and they questioned orders. Now, whoever gave them these orders, which they're assuming is the American government, is now trying to sink them. And yeah, it was just the first, little while up until the point where they get these orders and whatnot. Yeah, it's just a nice, wonderful show. You see these people, they're interacting, and it's great. And then all of a sudden, the crap hits the fan, and you're like, I couldn't stop watching the show. It was just like, white knuckling. I was like, it was really intense. It was really intense. And so I thought, and not only that is that they set up this, but they also set up a couple other things that are going on. So you see that there's a conflict within a conflict within a conflict. So I'm like going, whoa, I was pretty impressed with it. I can't wait to see the next episode. I know that we were talking about how are they going to do this? But I don't know if they can keep the intensity up and they can make it make sense and they can keep on keep the conflict coming and make it like they have. I will be interested because there's so many different dynamics that they're hitting on all at once. Just in one episode that I'm like, okay, I want to know what that. I know what I want to know what that is. I want to know how you're setting these things up and what's going to come out of them. So, I'm pretty impressed with it. So,
just to continue on to something you were saying, like we were talking about how a show like that at least I was, and I think Peter was questioning how a show like this could continue on. Mm-hmm. My big issue with a show like this, and it's not just a show, like I've said before that I read comic books, and they have these 6-issue story arcs, and they come out with a really good idea to start off a new series, whether it's a TV show or a comic book, and it's like, okay, this is really good, I'm really interested, and then they resolve it, and then it's like, well, where's the story going to go from here?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see this being a really good series, like mini-series for like 1 year.
Yeah.
Like you get the intrigue of all that stuff, and they're on the submarine, and are they getting attacked? Are they going to find out who told them to blow up Pakistan, or whatever? Or but beyond that, like once obviously that has to get resolved.
Yeah, eventually it will. Yeah.
There's a finite amount of time that people can spend on a submarine.
No, they took over an island.
They took yeah. In the end, they took over an island to and they declared themselves kind of sovereign of everybody.
Okay. But I mean,
and they have the firepower to back it up. That's the other thing. Is it's like, who's gonna screw with them? No one, because they have all of these nuclear weapons on board, and yeah.
But I mean, just as far as it going past that, I mean, mm-hmm. You figure they're gonna have to resolve the big question mark, I think, or at least like get them to a spot where it's like, okay, we can leave it off here and keep it going. But like once they do that, how do they keep it going? The one thing I don't know. Thing I think of when I see a miniseries like this or a TV show like this is, I'm going to bring it back to the comic books. There was a comic book I started reading in, years ago, maybe it's like 10 years ago, called Four. It was about the Fantastic Four, and the whole premise of it was they're broke. They lost all their money, and Reed Richards had to become a school teacher, and it was like, okay, it's really interesting. They're like regular people, but then they've like through the course of like 6 or 12 or maybe even 18 issues, it was like, okay, we figured out what happened to our money, and we got our money back, and then it just became another Fantastic Four comic book. It wasn't that different from the other Fantastic Four comic books. So they resolved the big question, and there was really nowhere to go with that story anymore.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, it's not the only one that's done that. There have been a couple others that we've seen, like last year, Once Upon a Time. I wasn't quite sure if it would have anything beyond the first season, but yet here we are getting ready to start a second season, and I'm looking forward to it. I guess I'm not to the point where I'd say I'm willing to give it a season and see what they do with it and see where they go with it and what they plan to do with it in the long term. But for right now, as a first episode pilot, I'm hooked with it. I think they did a good job. But again, you're right. You are making some really important points that I think that if they don't resolve it pretty quick, or at least by the end of the first season, then they might have people that will jump off at that point. So,
or just not even resolve it. Like get to a point where they don't have to resolve it right away.
oh
You
yeah,
know, like
oh yeah, where
create
it
something
can't be
where it's like,
resolved.
okay, we're going to set up a government or something like that, where it's like now we're recognized by the UN as a country, so we can't just get blown off the map by the United States. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Something where like, okay, the obvious answer is the United States is going to wipe them off the face of the earth.
Well, they did allude to like the guy saying something about, well, who says we have to go home at the end of the first episode, and I thought,
Right.
whoa, you're talking about breaking apart from the government, or
Right.
the United States, and so that's why I said I thought, wow, they're setting up some pretty good conflicts here. This is going to be interesting, and not only that is that you get the first officer, who's like, he just kind of looked like, I don't want to not go home. I want to go home. So you're like, there's a few
Right.
conflicts going on here. So it's like, like I said, I'd like to see where they're going with it. I'd like to see what they're going to do. If they go that route, if they make it so that, the conflicts are just so huge that, they aren't really resolvable in one season, then sure. Let's go see what they're going to do. Let's explore
Right.
what they're going to do with this. Yeah.
Like I said, my only thing is that every once in a while when there's a new show, and it's not always, but sometimes like it seems like there's a new show that comes out and it's just like a writer went into his boss's room and said, or a producer's room and said, I got a great idea for a show. It's about a submarine that gets attacked by the United States and they retaliate. And then the producer's like, good, let's go with it. And it's
Yeah.
like they put everything in motion without
Having a
thinking
long-term
about
plan.
where that's going to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it, like, if it's a good show, that's really good. I just don't want to see a show like this that's really good that's already written itself into a corner.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to say. Actually, it does premiere tonight. In fact, it hasn't even started here where I'm at. I got lucky. A week ago, I was browsing around online because I knew it was coming out, and Hulu had it on for, I don't know, a small amount of time or whatnot, and I watched it. So that's how I got it. That's how I saw it. So, yeah, because I haven't seen it yet. It hasn't even premiered. I saw it a week ago on Hulu because I guess they had some sort of thing on. So
Yeah, they do that a lot nowadays. It's kind of crazy.
I thought it was kind of cool. It gave me a chance to watch it before it actually came out. So
Yeah,
I was
they
like,
did
oh,
that.
Also, since it's an NBC show, it seems like NBC and Hulu are tied together
Yeah.
somehow.
Actually, Last Resort is an ABC show.
Is it?
I think. Yeah, it's ABC.
Uh,
It's on ABC.
Huh.
Yeah. But ABC does air on Hulu. And I think they did that a lot. They did that for Revolution as well. That was available about like a week before the show premiered last week, so you could watch it online.
yeah, I watched a couple things like that. So I was like, oh, that's cool. It was just, hey, I was looking around for it, and I thought I would at least say something about it here on the podcast. So if anybody's wondering, how did you see that? It hasn't come out. Yeah, you're right. It hasn't even come out yet. No. Yeah. No, it comes out tonight. So it's actually probably on in an hour, I think, here. Something like that. I've already seen it. Yay!
Okay, well, John, do you want to talk about Animal Practice?
Sure. So we picked when NBC when the stations first came out with their fall lineups at the end of last season, like Mayish, maybe it was June. I decided I would watch this Animal Practice show because I like half-hour comedies. They don't take too much thought, and I honestly didn't think it would be picked up. It just it seemed like an easy show to watch. And I watched it, and I'll be damned if it wasn't a funny show. It's a really good show. I mean, there's not a whole lot of well-known people in it. The only people I know are the Asian guy from Mad TV.
Okay.
And I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'll know it as soon as I hear it. And
Bobby Lee, is that the guy?
Bobby Lee. Sock from Reaper.
Right. Yeah.
Is in it, and it's basically it's a show about a veterinary practice where the head veterinarian,
who's Justin Kirk, by the way. He was on Weeds for.
Oh, I didn't know who
show
it was. I had never seen him before.
Yeah, however long that dang show is on for. But
Yeah, it's almost done now, right? They're wrapping up.
yeah, it's eight seasons, and
Yeah.
But anyway.
So he's the head veterinarian, and he just does not understand, get along with, talk to human people.
okay.
His best friend on the show is a capuchin monkey who dresses like him and wears a little lab coat and things like
Oh
that.
my gosh. Does it talk to him and everything?
No.
Oh.
No, it's a realistic show.
Try to make it realistic.
Yeah, and the veterinary practice was his ex-girlfriend's grandmother's, and the grandmother passes away in the first episode and gives the practice to her granddaughter. So the veterinary practice is now run by his ex-girlfriend.
Oh wow.
So there's the dynamic between the veterinary assistants and the doctors, and it's almost, if I had to describe it to another TV show, I would say it's like Scrubs, but in a veterinary hospital.
Okay.
Without the the constant voiceovers. But it's really funny. I still am not sure if it's going to last or not. Number one, because it's on NBC and nothing seems to last when it's on NBC.
Right.
It
has to be an instant hit.
Yeah. But I'm going to keep watching it. I think it's a really good show. I think it's pretty funny. And it, like I said, it's a half-hour comedy. There's not a whole lot you have to invest into it. You get some pretty good. I mean, I found myself saying halfway through the first episode, "Damn, I didn't think this was going to be funny."
Cute.
And yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Good.
That's a good report. There you go. Yeah.
All right. Well, I chose Vegas, which is the show with Dennis Quaid and
Carrie Ann Moss. I saw it last
Carrie Ann
night. I'm
Moss.
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I had to go watch it.
Chime in where you would like.
Okay.
And Michael Chiklis. So essentially, it is
The Thing.
Vegas. I'm sorry, John.
The Thing.
The Thing, yeah, or The Shield. Vic
Shield.
Mackey of The Shield. Essentially, this is a nicer version of Vic Mackey, I guess. So it's the Vegas in the 1960s.
Isn't he a mobster?
He's a mobster, yeah.
He
But I
is.
mean, he was essentially a mobster in The Shield. I mean,
Yeah.
You're still trying to figure out whether or not he's trying to get out or if he's still in. You don't know. They gave you enough question that you're like, he's definitely there for business, but you're not quite sure if he's there because he's just trying to get righteous or he's just getting sucked back into another problem.
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Here's my
They
question
gave it
about-
enough that it's like, okay.
Here's my question about the show. The one thing I couldn't really figure out from the previews is Vegas already up and running,
Yes.
or is it a brand new thing that's kind of getting off its feet?
It is
Kind of-
getting to the point where it's starting to take off.
yeah.
Okay.
So the premise is that Michael Chiklis' character kind of shows up and he's here to help out, and he's saying that he wants to stake his flag. And the way they introduced Dennis Quaid is that he's a rancher. He was in the war. He was in the Korean War, and the war is over after the 1960s. So he's back as a rancher, and he has a scuffle with the airlines or the airline guy who they made a deal. They said, "Hey, you're scaring away my cattle and things like that. You were supposed to fly him from the east, but instead you're flying in from the west. And you're scaring all my cattle." So then they get into a dust up and things like that. The way that he becomes a deputy sheriff is kind of weird in that...
I thought it was still kind of cool, though.
Yeah, it's that the governor's daughter gets murdered, and he was a really good investigator during his time in the military. So the mayor used to be his commanding officer in the military. So he tells him, you need to investigate this.
And that's because the sheriff that's supposed to be there is like in another state somewhere.
Yeah.
He's not there for whatever reason, and because the governor is reacting the way that he is, they're feeling the pinch of we need to get some guy to start investigating this right now, or else we're going to have a big problem really, really fast.
Right.
So they turn to this guy, to the rancher guy, to Dennis Quaid's character, to pick up and say, hey, please do this favor for us because we're in a real big bind here.
Yeah. And he says, and his reasoning was, he's like, oh, well, we can pay you. He's like, I don't want you to pay me. I want you to change. He's like, I want you to change the flight path. That's his main reason.
He just cares about his ranch. That's all he cares about.
So then he ropes in his brother, who's played by Jason O'Mara, recently came back from the past, from the dinosaur era.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, at least he's in another show. I liked him. I want to see him again, so I'm glad that he's in this one.
Yeah, he's on these shows that only last 13 episodes or something. Because previously he was on.
That's not a good outlook for Vegas.
Previously he was on Life on Mars as a leading character as well, and that didn't last very long either. But that premise for that show, there's no way it could have lasted for longer than like a year or two.
Yeah, not on the. Was it on ABC?
It was on ABC.
Yeah, I didn't think
it lasted a full season.
Well, ABC either.
How long did that show last when it was on in England?
Because that was a separate show though. That was. Just,
I know.
I mean,
I know it was
I
different.
I actually have no idea.
I mean, it's the same premise, though, right?
Yeah, but English television's not that right. Sorry, what? I didn't mean to say that. Apparently, the Life on Mars BBC show only lasted 16 episodes. So.
Oh, okay.
Aww.
I guess
although what they usually do, although there was a sequel as well, and then there was another series, and then another series.
Oh my god.
So there was the original, and then a sequel titled Ashes to Ashes, and then there was a second series that followed that in 2009. So it was like 3 series, I guess. I don't know how they did that since it was a dream. It was all a dream. So in this one,
pretty bad dream.
Yeah, I think he was in a coma or something like that. So it was all a dream. It was all in a coma-induced dream. But anyway, in Vegas, he essentially, he solves the murder. It turns out that Carrie Ann Moss, who plays the assistant district attorney, her boss is a dirty district attorney because he coaxes the sheriff out of hiding and then has him murdered. And why or what's going on exactly is you're not sure. But since the sheriff is now murdered, the mayor has promoted Dennis Quaid's character to sheriff because he needs to investigate the death of a sheriff.
He's good at it. He figured out who killed the girl. So
yeah. After I mean, it made sense. He did what he needed to do and things like that. It's an interesting, being the sheriff, and then obviously the biggest push that they're trying for is the Dennis Quaid versus Michael Chiklis kind of fight. I don't know. I guess it's going to be, unless they do the reset button, I don't know how they're consistently going to chase after Michael Chiklis consistently.
Yeah. Unless there's other people that are gonna, other things that are gonna come in and be the crime of the week.
Right, the mobster of the week, exactly. I guess it's gonna be similar to how Boardwalk Empire worked for a while, how the marshal was chasing him and like trying to figure out trying to dig up clues on him and things like that. I guess, but that wasn't the central thing of that show. But this is essentially like he's the sheriff. Vegas isn't that big yet, and this guy's running a casino there in Vegas. So it'll be interesting. I don't know how they're going to finish the show or actually continue the show after 22
So far, I
episodes.
think they're doing pretty good. I mean, it's basically old school against new school, crime against, somebody who's following the law, cowboy against, change and all that. They've got so many different angles with it that they could, I like what they're doing. And
I don't know how they're going to do
Dennis Quaid in it. He's a guy that's on a horse that's chasing people on motorcycles.
That's funny.
Great.
Yeah, he did like round him up on a motorcycle, like rounding up people on motorcycles on a horse. It was kind of
at the very end when they're chasing the guy that's in the Cadillac or whatever, the blue Cadillac, and he sends his brother and people after him to box him in. You knew something epic was going to happen because he didn't come with them, and all he's doing is standing there with a rifle, and you're like, oh gosh, just wait, he's going to shoot him or do something. He shoots out the tires.
Yeah,
it was just, oh my gosh, I loved it. I thought it was great. It's like,
it'll be a good. So hopefully it'll do well. But of course, shows are debuting every week.
Yes.
So we will be back next time with some
Fringe.
additional shows.
Fringe will be coming
Yeah,
out.
Fringe on Friday. Yeah.
On Friday, yeah. So we can definitely talk about that.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right, so we will we will now go to a little topic, and John, I'll turn it to you.
Sure. So in the show notes, the question is not fleshed out the way I would word it. That's sort of
This is why you're explaining it.
Right, and it's sort of why I wanted to talk about. The idea is there are similar shows that are on TV all the time. Sometimes the shows take off and do really well, and sometimes the shows don't take off and do really well or get canceled immediately. And the shows are similar enough or have the same kind of aspects where, in my mind, it doesn't really make sense as to why one show would flourish and another show would not. So the obvious answer is ratings. I mean, one show does well because it gets ratings, people watch it, the advertising is there. The other show, nobody's watching it. But my question is, why is nobody watching it? For instance, Lost was a huge hit. Came out and did really well right off the shoot, and then 7 years later they wrapped it up, and people got furious. And then the next year they came out with a show called Flash Forward. Was the year after Lost ended, right?
I believe it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Either it was before Lost ended or it was the season just before it ended.
And it lasted maybe a whole year and didn't do well.
Season.
And in my mind, those shows, I mean, was the same network. It had the same kind of like mysterious angle. What's happening with these people? Why did they pass out? Blah 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 blah. I didn't actually watch Flash Forward, so I can't really speak as to what the plot was. But in my mind, it seems like it should have done really well. But it didn't do well. And like, there are shows like that all over the place. Like Star Trek is a really popular show, and Star Wars is a really popular movie, but Firefly fizzled out after a year. And you would think that kind of show would have the same following that the other Joss Whedon fans would watch that show. You know what I mean? And Buffy lasted 7 years.
And so did Angel.
Angel, yeah.
So, I mean, there's something as to why these shows aren't failing, and I just want to get your guys' input on maybe what it is, and if there's something that's drastically missing, or if it's just too much comparison that they don't last. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is that, like, people look to Flash Forward as to be to fill the hole that Lost consumed when it was gone, and it just didn't do it well enough, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I really didn't hear about Flash Forward until after the fact, and the only reason why I heard about it is because I went to a Comic-Con, and one of the guys the author that wrote the book that it was based off of actually talked, and I went to one of his panels, and I was like, oh, cool, he wrote that. Whoa, I should go check that out. And then I found out that it had been canceled, and I was like, oh, well, that sucks. Really? I was like, well, dang. I was
This
like, well,
guy has a canceled show and they give him a panel?
no, well, it wasn't that type of panel. It was like they have like writing tracks and stuff like that.
Okay.
He was like him in a room full of 10 people. It was just one of the smaller classes or whatever. But still, I liked the guy. I liked what he had to say. I thought he said some really interesting things, and he still got an award for that book, even though it didn't last on TV. So I have no doubt that the book that it was based off of was still well written. Sometimes when you get changes between media and whatnot, it's a little bit different. Translates differently. But yeah, it's kind of hard to figure that out, because sometimes I'm like, some of these shows that actually do really well, I didn't get on board with Lost until the third season in, because I knew it was big, I just didn't have the time, and so I eventually got into it, and of course I loved it all the way to the end. I was not one of those people that raged at the end.
That's
Um,
one way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, raged, yeah. But yeah, that's a good question. I think there's so many variables sometimes. Who knows? I mean, you have to kind of look what it was up against, what time slot it was in.
Yeah.
When they had sports come in, was it put on hold for a week or two, and because of that, it hit the ratings that bad once it came back. People just didn't get back into it. I don't know. I mean, because I've had that happen too, where I've seen shows that I really really liked, and because got moved, it tanked.
I mean, the only other comparison off the top of my head that I can think of, and it doesn't really fit in. Well, I guess it does, but like the X-Files was a really popular show. It lasted 9-10 years.
Nine seasons,
9 years.
I think. Yeah, 9 years.
People loved it from the beginning until David Duchovny left. At least that's when I watched it.
Yeah.
And like shows like Fringe come out, and it seems like it's in that same vein of the X-Files, where Monster of the Week type of thing, but there's also a bigger story going on. And Fringe has lasted for 5 years, but after every year, I'm sitting there, and I know you guys have probably been sitting there wondering, is this show going to come back next year?
Right.
And even there was another show on CW, I think.
Beauty and the Beast.
Sorry, that again?
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, no, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was
Smallville?
called, but
Supernatural?
Yeah, Supernatural.
Supernatural's still going on. It hasn't been ended yet. Yeah, it's
But-
up to
but every-
season
but-
8 now.
They had to fight for it to come back, right? After a couple of years. Is that the
I
one?
think after number
Like-
2. Yeah, I think
After
it
the
was.
second year, there was like a big like they were like, "That's it, we're canceling it," and everyone like the fans that watch it were like, "You
They
can't
made a big-
cancel it." And they made a big stink about it, and they brought it back, and obviously it worked out. It's been going on for a while, but like, you'd think that like the popularity of the X-Files, those type of shows would be popular also. I mean, X-Files is a Sunday night show in a time where not everyone had cable. There was no basic cable shows like Mad Men or things like that to compete against, and HBO hadn't taken off with The Sopranos yet. So
Yeah,
I mean, you got
it
that all
kinda-
comes to it, but
it kind of filled a nice little sweet spot that just hit. It hit, and people liked it, so
Yeah.
it kept it going.
So I think one of the biggest things that you're hitting upon, John, is that Star Trek, the original Star Trek didn't last all that long.
no, it didn't. It lasted for years.
No,
Yeah,
But
its
brought
future.
the movies back out.
Yeah, and then its
Really-
other iterations are have been did really really well.
yeah. Next Generation had I think 8 seasons. Deep Space Nine had about that much. Voyager did great, and then we hit Enterprise, and it only had 3 seasons.
Yeah. But even 3 seasons was a lot. But all those
Yeah.
on UPN, so nobody
Yeah.
watched UPN. So, although I think they had to. I think Enterprise had to fight to stay on as well.
Yeah, it did. It did.
I think one of the issues is that a lot of the executives nowadays are so impatient.
Yeah,
They're so
quick to pull
impatient.
the plug.
So Lost, when it came out, it was a completely different show. There wasn't a show at all that was like it on television. And
True.
then after Lost came out, Flash Forward I think Flash Forward was on the final year. They're trying to kind of like replace it. I think they played along with each other too. I think it followed Lost or something like that. And then, NBC came out with Events, and then kind of like Revolution is sort of like that a little bit. Not as serialized, but that kind of feel. It has that feel to it.
Right.
So Flash Forward just didn't catch on as fast as they hoped it would. It was a good show. It had some pretty interesting ideas.
Right. And like that's a show that was granted a full season. I mean, I can understand like okay, after a full season, if it didn't catch on, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But like a show, I think you had said in a text message we had shared, comparing a show like Mad Men to the Playboy Club. Look,
That was
the
a
Playboy
big
Club was a bad show, and I knew it wasn't going to last. But if the writing was there, I mean, they pulled it after 2 episodes.
Yeah.
You can't get a good judge on a
Right.
TV show and how it's going to do after 2 episodes.
But the thing is, they just spent money on it, right?
And-
you spent money
Yeah.
making 6 episodes. Why not just
And-
see where it goes? It's
And
just
look, I
weird,
mean, God, I lost a train of thought. Damn it.
Well, let's just say Firefly came out
No,
after Buffy
I know
and
what you're
Angel,
gonna say.
right? So,
Um,
Did you get it back, Dan? John?
I got it.
all right, go,
Okay.
go before you forget.
Go for it.
Lost,
Yeah.
Lost could not have been possibly making the numbers that it was making after 2 episodes, right? After a full
Yeah.
season, I can get that it probably was, but like, so how could you judge obviously a show based on 3 or 4 episodes? I don't understand. Like, one of my favorite shows, I have the DVD set, was canceled after. Well, not, it was pulled off the air after 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And then they put it on TV, The Black Donnellys.
Yeah.
And the writing was good, everything was good about it, and it was just like they didn't give it a chance. And I feel like if they gave it a chance, it would still be might not be still be on, but it would have had a good 3, 4, maybe 5 seasons of show there. And they just didn't give it they just didn't give it a chance. And I'm sure there's I mean, this is me standing on a soapbox complaining about shows that I like getting canceled, but I'm sure there's shows out there that people have watched saying, why is the show getting canceled? I don't understand it. It's got good writing. It's got good this. It's got good that. They're just not giving it a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. While they
Terra Nova, that's how Terra Nova ended.
While they
it ended on a really high note. In fact, they were making money with it.
Yeah, and then meanwhile,
but they still decided to end it.
They've renewed Here Comes Honey Boo Boo for another 3 seasons or something. Yeah, you're right. I think also with Firefly as well was that Angel and Buffy were such huge hits that they're like, Joss Whedon, you came out with 13 episodes and it's not doing as well as Buffy, so we're going to cancel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Buffy was also hitting those teenagers as well, and teenagers will...
yeah, absolutely, because Buffy had that feel, right? It had the high school angst thing going on.
Yeah, and that resonated. That resonated with a lot of people, other than just, the sci-fi group. That I think Firefly has a bigger following now that it's canceled than it did when it was.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But if you think about it, Firefly is it's like a Star Wars type show. I mean, we were at the age where we remember Star Wars not in the theaters, but on TV and DVDs and things like that. And then there's our parents who watch Star Wars in theaters. So it's that's 2 whole generations of people. So the advertising maybe wasn't focusing on the right people. I mean, it was on UPN, right? So maybe
back when UPN existed.
Yeah, I think it was just poorly, Was it on UPN or was it on Fox? No, I think it was on Fox.
Oh, was it on Fox?
Yeah, it was on Fox because then...
Oh, you're right, it was. It was Buffy and Angel that were on UPN.
No, they started on Fox too, didn't they?
Buffy was not on Fox.
No,
really?
Buffy wasn't on Fox.
Well, it was on Fox, and then he did Drive, and then I also got canceled, and he's like, I'm never working with Fox again. And then he came out with Dollhouse, which lasted for 2 seasons.
Yeah, on Fox.
And then it got canceled. It was like, okay, all right. Joss Whedon, what are you doing here? And then he comes out with Avengers, and now everybody
giving them a chance. Right. That's all. I was giving Fox a second chance. They didn't give it to me, so
yeah. He gave him a third chance too.
Look, if the executives that were in charge now were in charge 20 years ago, we would not have a Seinfeld.
Yep, absolutely.
We would not have Cheers.
Yep, we would. Yeah, absolutely.
Because those shows were terrible the first year that they were out.
Yeah.
But I mean, someone's got to write a letter to these guys and say, look, you got to let these shows breathe.
Yeah.
Give them a chance. I mean, if the writing is not working out and people are mocking the writing on internet or whatever, put new writers in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're just not giving shows a chance. I mean, who knows where we would be right now if certain shows would still be on. Right.
Well, sometimes you need that first season to kind of set the stage too, because I've seen it in other stuff as well. Sometimes if you just get through the first, little bit, and then all of a sudden things start popping out that are like, whoa, where did that come from?
Absolutely.
Does everything have to be so intense and high, stakes from the very get-go? Because if you do that just to cool it down later, it's like, well, if that's what got everybody in, then what says that you removing that is going to keep them going?
That was part of the problem with the Playboy Club, is that they had so many different stories that they wanted to tell, and
They tried to tell it all at once.
they probably felt like they didn't have a whole lot of time to lay all the cards on the table, so they tried to start all these different storylines in the first episode, which you just can't do.
Yeah. You should set it up, but not try to.
Not
tell
even
the
that.
whole
Just
thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the first episode, the show is called The Playboy Club. The first episode should have just been about the different people that come in. Give each character some development. You don't have to get into this girl accidentally killed this guy, and this girl is a black playgirl dancer, and she wants to make it big, but she can't because she's black, and blah 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 blah. It's like all stuff like just let the characters develop, and then tell their stories.
Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know.
Well, that has been your edition of John's soapbox time.
Bring back the Black Donnellys.
Yes, bring back the Black
original
Donnellys.
cast and everything.
Oh man.
I don't care how busy Olivia Wilde is.
Right? Yeah. She's huge now. That's great. I forgot she was in that show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh man.
See, now I remember when the Black Donnellys was like advertised, because at the time I was living in Utah in college and newly married, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting, and I had so much going on, I didn't watch that either.
It was
Sorry.
it was a really.
I heard
So
good things, and then the last time I saw it is canceled. And I was like, what? But then a lot of shows that year was
Well, that's
canceled
the thing,
that
it
I
wasn't
wasn't
even
very
canceled.
happy with.
Like, if you want to watch Black Donnellys, tune in to NBC.com and watch the episodes there. And it's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that was weird. It was just they didn't even tell you that they didn't even tell you that they were no longer going to air it anymore. After the 6th episode, they just said,
Really?
tune into NBC.com for more Black Donnellys, and that was it. And they never said anything anymore. And you had to
Oh my
find out
gosh.
several weeks later. Then they came out with news that they said that they were going to stream the show online, and you would go onto NBC. This is one of the first shows that actually.
Yeah.
I was
Like,
gonna
they were
say, I
trying to
think
push
that's
traffic onto
that
their
they were
website.
trying to push traffic onto their
Yeah.
website. In that sense, it's good because nowadays, that if that was the first time they ever did that, then maybe they're hoping that there would be enough pull to keep it going with that. But
No, they already
it's
made
such a
the
new
decision.
technology at that point that not everybody's ready to watch it on their computer yet.
Yeah, they had already made the decision to cancel.
Yeah.
Ah,
They
that's too
they
bad.
pulled it,
But
and they said,
sick-
we're going to release the rest and see what.
6 episodes on TV, and it had a DVD box set. Almost
Weird.
2 years of Off Center was on TV, and I still can't get that on
I knew
DVD
this
box
was
set.
coming. Bring
Well, here's
on
another
Saturday
thing: is that advertising is a big deal too. Because I have to say, this last 2 years, when they have come out of, when I've gone into going to see movies, and I'm seeing advertisements for shows
There
that
was only
I
an
didn't
aisles.
realize were on these other networks. I was like, that to me has been pulling me into some of these networks that I just thought, oh, they never have anything I like. I'm never going to watch them. And then all of a sudden, whoa, here I'm getting advertisements for stuff that I did not even know that they were airing in other places. And so I have to say, I hope that maybe advertising also has something to do with some of that as well, because I have been pulled into some of these networks that I've usually never looked at because they've always played stuff that they just set a standard of this is what we play and this is what we don't, and I've just stopped looking at them because I was like, oh, they never have anything I like, and I was like, whoa, they have.
Well, here's my problem with the advertising argument is that if advertising is so obviously advertising is important for the TV shows to have a life and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
The advertisements pay for that. Why would they have these huge, expensive, or seemingly expensive? I don't know how expensive it is to make Revolution.
Probably.
Sci-fi shows on Monday night against Monday Night Football. Like, I get that it's on ESPN now, but it's still a huge draw for the market.
Right.
And you got to figure that advertisers are going to be like, I don't want to advertise against football. Football is the number one sport in America. Why would I
don't watch it. Sorry.
No, I know, but I'm not saying everyone watches it. But it's still,
It's a big draw.
it's a big draw, and you like advertise like Pepsi's going to say, I don't want to compete with football. Everyone's going to be watching football. I mean, obviously, a company like Pepsi would probably have advertisements on everything, but and like I was reading an article. And they were like, why did they put these shows on against Monday Night Football? They would probably thrive a little better if it was on like a Tuesday night, where you can get the sci-fi crowd that's going to watch it anyway, and then get some of the people who are, who were going to watch football and not watch whatever else, and get some of that audience. It just doesn't make. That's basically what the article was saying. It doesn't make any sense to put these expensive shows up against something that's not going to get the draw.
So what do they do then? Just not put anything on that time slot until afterwards, or? Because I've always wondered about that. Because not everybody in the United States watches football. I mean, if they're like me, I didn't grow up in a home that did that. We just don't do it. So it's like, Monday night comes along, and if there's football on, I'll just turn it off, or I'll go watch something else.
I mean, I don't watch it unless the Eagles are on it. Yeah. That's the only time I have invested into football on not Sunday, basically. Because I watch football all day on Sunday except for at night. But like, if you look at the ratings on TV, the only night that NBC ever wins is Sunday night.
Right.
And it's every week during football season. And it's like 27 million people watch Sunday Night Football. 30 million people watch Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
And obviously everyone not everyone who's not watching it. People who are not watching that are watching their shows on ABC or whatever, or Showtime, HBO, which doesn't really care about ratings all that much because their product is paid for.
Right. So what I think about what they do is that nowadays, we were talking about new technologies and stuff like that. A lot of thought is taken into the live ratings, but there's also the DVR ratings and things like that nowadays. The live plus DVR ratings. So they're even if their live ratings are abysmal, then hopefully their DVR ratings are good. And I think that's actually essentially what saved Fringe, was that their live ratings were terrible because it's Friday nights at 9. Who is going to watch television? In this day and age, who's going to watch television at night, Friday night, right?
Yeah.
But their DVR ratings were amazing, and every week it kept growing, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's essentially what gave it its final season.
That's good.
Yeah, so I think that probably helps a little bit. I understand what you're saying, definitely, because you're putting yourself up against a juggernaut, and it's like, why would you do that? But at the same time, they're hoping that they can kind of grab somebody who's just not into football, like Amy was saying. He's just not in. I just don't want to watch football. They'll do it.
But it still comes down to the advertising. If you're an advertising executive, you can get the numbers that say these are the viewers, and these are the viewers plus DVR viewers.
Right.
And if the numbers are skewed more towards the DVR numbers, as an advertiser, I'm saying, well, who the hell watches commercials when you have it on DVR?
Right.
Nobody.
Well, they're trying to pass laws nowadays that you have to. But
actually, the animal practice show that I watched it on demand, on catch up, and the first episode didn't have any commercials. It was only 18 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And when it came to commercial break, it would go right into where the commercial break would end.
Interesting.
And when I watched Last Resort on Hulu, there were just they'd give me 2 advertisements and that would go back into it. So I was like, and they were short; they were like 30 seconds each. So for a minute, I watched advertising, and then I went on to something else. So
the second episode of Animal Practice, it was a new episode. It came out on maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever time this week that it aired, and it showed every commercial from beginning to end, and you could not fast forward.
Yeah. Yep. That's how they get you nowadays.
And it didn't bother me. It was just, I found it was weird. It was like, tonight, following Animal Practice is a brand new episode of Guys with Kids or whatever. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is a DVR.
Oh, so they programmed up-to-date commercials into those things.
No.
Oh.
No, it was the commercials that aired when the episode aired. Yeah, it was very weird.
Oh.
This is on-demand catch-up?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was like, stay tuned after Animal Practice for the first episode of Guys with Kids, or whatever that show was called.
It's called Guys with Kids. I saw that one too. I wasn't.
Yeah, that shit looks stupid.
You weren't impressed with Guys with Kids?
I was not impressed with Guys with Kids. The married woman who has kids was not, impressed with it. I was like, there were a few parts that were kind of funny, but it was like, It just seems like a reiteration of something I've already seen. So I thought, okay, what makes this different than anything else that I've seen? I wasn't that impressed with it.
It's a stupid gimmick that's not going to go anywhere. I mean, that's the type of
The
show.
gimmick,
like,
the gimmick is the kids and
about guys, and they've got kids, but they're guys. What are they going to do with kids? And it's like,
Get it? Oh my God!
I think you told every guy with kid joke in the first episode.
Exactly.
Hopefully, hopefully it does what Up All Night did, which originally it started with, get it? These two people just had a kid. Get it? Huh? And then it evolved into a show that wasn't just about the kid.
I could see where it could be evolving with a few things, but then at the same time I thought they told so much in just the first episode that I thought it's a little overkill. I think maybe if you develop something in the first episode, you can get me more interested than just guys with kids. I just thought, really? Okay, we're done here. I was like, there's the kiss of death. Mwah!
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, if you think of any shows that you would like to compare that flopped versus made it, and what you think about shows just getting canceled versus other similar shows getting taking off and going up into skyrocket heaven, definitely comment on our new Facebook page, facebook.com/ScreenView show. For John Denny and Amy Morgan, we will see you guys next time.
Hasta la pasta.
You've been listening to ScreenView. ScreenView is a radio-free Cybertron production. Visit us at tfradio.net for show notes and to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at tfradio for news and updates. Watch our live stream at tfradio.net/live. Join our Facebook fan page at facebook.com/tfradio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, TF Radio Network. Have a question or comment? Leave it on our Facebook fan page or mail it to contact@tfradio.net. Copyright 2011, Radio Free Cybertron.